In Odd Dogs, yeah, I've been playing keyboards and saxophone and woodwinds for the recording in iwi these days. So I have my hands full, and it started when I was young playing keyboards first, and then I started playing saxophone after that in grade school. And I've been playing both my whole life, but not in every playing situation. And a lot of people only know me as a saxophonist, and flute player. But this has been a great opportunity and challenge because I was able to play so many instruments that I like to play in this band. And this is quite a challenge for the arrangement part of it, playing it live, since I have to cover both of it and both parts. And I definitely enjoy the challenge of jumping back and forth. It's a little confusing sometimes. My head will be, am I in B flat or am I in concert? It's very easy to get a little confused from time to time. So I got to stay really focused when I do this, and the changes, the switch ups, grab my horn, get ready to play a solo, oh, wait, put the horn down, grab the keyboard, I got to get this bell part, that kind of stuff. Timing is everything, and I have to really, really be on my toes when I play this music. Well, for Beneath the Surface, which I find to be one of the most challenging tunes in our whole record and repertoire, I it's kind of a funny story. When I first saw the chart, and this was a long 13-page chart, uh, I couldn't make heads or tails of it. I didn't know what was going on the first time I played through it, and my eye was not even breaking up the rhythms in any sensible way until I kind of grasped the idea that, oh, I see, it's a slow 3 pulse broken up into fives, groupings of 5. So that right there is sort of a rare way to break up, right? I mean, a quarter note is almost always broken up into some multiple of 2. So to break them up into, triplets aside, but to break them up into groupings of 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This slow 3. It took me a while to get used to it, and what I did was I went home and I tried, actually, a kind of a funny experiment. I tried to write it in groupings of 3s, so that I could visually understand it better, but it messed up my feel when I tried to play it with the band. So I went back to the original chart and just buckled down, hunkered down, and what's so difficult about the keyboard part that I play on that song is that not only are the groupings in 5s, but I have to catch like the 4th one or the 5th one, and it keeps moving around where you got to place your accents in the chords. So until I played through it several times, that was a very challenging song. Well, the orchestration for that section came about pretty spontaneously when we were working on the overdubs. I did not usually. Typically, I will sit at a piano and write out an arrangement and spend some time thinking about it. But we did it on the fly, on the day when we were overdubbing. So I broke it up into, the lead was kind of obvious. The soprano sax took the melodies on top, and then I just kind of came up with some sort of counterpoint melodies with the flutes, while the clarinets tended to just be a bed. And then when the bass clarinet kind of came in halfway through, that's sort of a build up. So I wanted that section to slowly sort of morph and build into something. Been writing my own music, playing songs that were in 7/5/4. Everybody learns the classic Take 5 Brubeck song when they're young. So, the bands I played in Los Angeles, Baba Ganoush is an example that Ralph Humphrey and I both played in. And Jimmy Malis, the leader, wrote these songs that took from Middle Eastern modes and played them. And he's Greek, so from dance, from his culture, things in 11, things in 13. I did a lot of that kind of stuff, and I really cut my teeth on that. And it was a great experience to play with Ralph all those years as well. when I was in Europe, I played for almost 5 years with a great Trilok Gurtu, percussionist from India, and his music tied in with the classical Indian music was super complex, and I learned a ton when I was working with him about keeping my own time, about being responsible for my own time. I think in the past I've played in odd meter bands where it's easy to rely on the rhythm section doing its thing and keeping the sense of where you are, and you can rely on that. But when I worked with Trilok, he really did not spell anything out for us, and would sometimes even try to mess us up. But that was a challenge. Playing jazz has been harmonically probably the best preparation for this band, because not only is Odd Dog's music rhythmically difficult, but sometimes there are very difficult changes to, for instance, to solo over. So I think my harmonic sense has definitely grown a lot from the sophistication of jazz harmony. I've always relied on this sort of natural ability. I can't say I've really worked super, super hard at understanding rhythms. Probably spent more time understanding harmony and musical theory and that side of it. But rhythms sort of always came naturally to me. I do have a funny thing that I do. I don't know if other people do it, but I sort of, when I'm playing a saxophone and I'm standing there, I kind of I go in a circle. My body kind of moves in this kind of circle. And I've always felt time kind of like that, in a circle, and rather than an up-down motion, yeah, I think I've always sort of just naturally felt rhythm anyway. I don't think very mathematically about the rhythms. I feel them more naturally internally than thinking about them. So it's not an intellectual exercise for me when I'm actually playing. When I'm at home looking at a piece of music and I'm analyzing it, that's a different story. One of the things I really, really love to do, and I've been doing this now for quite a long 25 years or so, is composing music based on my sort of side interests, which are numbers and mathematics and things like that. So oftentimes I will have read or studied about some problem, and it'll make me think of some way I could apply that to music and write a tune around it. I do have an album called Prime, which I released quite a while back, and that whole record was a concept record where every composition was based on a prime number. So the first song was based off of 2, second song was based off of 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17. And it was a prime number of songs, 7 total. The songs weren't just odd meter. For instance, 5, the song based around 5, the number 5, wasn't just in 5/4. It was also the form had 5-bar phrases. I wanted to incorporate 5-ness into the whole composition, not just the time signature. So I would have harmonic and melodic ideas based on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 intervals, for instance. So I could do harmonic things that had 5-ness to it. I could do harmonic things that could use 5s. So I tried to, in those cases, it was like a puzzle, and trying to do my number thing with my compositions for that. But that's an example of sort of my approach and my hobby. What I love about music, that's a very broad question. I love all kinds of music. First off, I was lucky enough to have parents who loved classical music and loved jazz. I had to learn about pop and rock and more contemporary music kind of on my own, since they were interested in that. But I have a fair appreciation for just about every kind of music. I love all kinds of world music, fusion, odd meter music, obviously. My likes and dislikes about these things, it's kind of a joke when we were younger, but if music is good, it doesn't matter what the genre is. And what I like when I hear music, good music, is a certain degree of musicality, and I know that's not a very, it's hard to explain what that is. It's kind of, you know it when you hear it kind of thing. But I love, when it sounds collaborative. I like music that's collaborative, interactive, spontaneous. All of these adjectives are things that I enjoy the most. With odd meter music, I think there are bands like the Odd Dogs where the music's complex, but everybody's musical. They're great musicians, so they bring a sensibility to the music that doesn't make you think that this is just a math problem or that this is sport fusion. This is five guys trying to make really good music out of something very, very intractable sometimes and complex. Well, a few of my influences on saxophone and flutes. Of course, the greats in jazz. I have to mention John Coltrane. That's somebody I discovered through my dad's record collection. Wayne Shorter, these fantastic saxophonists. Everybody that knows about jazz knows about these guys, so it's nothing new. But they were definitely inspirations, and I transcribed like crazy when I first started transcribing, I guess, as a kid in 5th grade. I started trying to understand and analyze what these guys were doing. And anything that I ever liked the sound of, whoever it was, whatever instrument it was, it doesn't have to be saxophone players, pianists, I would try to transcribe. I wanted to know, why does this sound so good over this chord, and what is this phrase? And so I spent a lot of my youth doing that and analyzing different players. Outside of the jazz realm, of course, there's other stylists. When I was young, Tom Scott was very popular. So he was more like a LA studio guy, doing a little bit more like contemporary jazz types of things, but a great player. And I thought he was, I learned a lot about my technique in the studio by kind of studying what he does and arranging. I thought he was a great arranger, a great composer. So, there's of course pianists, since I played piano from when I was younger, before I started playing sax. So I, always loved Joe Zawinul, Chick Corea, Keith Jarrett, McCoy Tyner. All the Herbie Hancock. So all these guys, probably no surprise, but they maybe would be a little more surprising is to hear that I was very influenced by Jan Garbarek from Europe. And he's a saxophonist that, some people know him and dig him, and others don't really know much about him. But I think he has a very unique sound and very unique approach, and always loved his records and things he did with Keith Jarrett on the old ECM records. When I was younger, Michael Brecker was a huge influence. He was on everybody's records at that time when I was younger, and he was quite an inspiration to me, not only technically and his sound, but his time, his concept, his vocabulary that he developed post Coltrane was quite amazing. And I transcribed a lot of his solos in his work and learned a lot from listening to him.